When she walked past the clubhouse, she noticed that yellow caution tape had been wrapped around the side of the climber. The clubhouse was off limits. It didn't matter to Oi now. She didn't want to be in that stupid club. She didn't want to be one of Liliandra's girls. Tears blurred the view of the sidewalk in front of her. As she walked near Jerry's Lee Ho Market, Oi heard someone following her. She turned to see Frankie. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her sleeve. He caught up with her. It was that stupid Liliandra's fault, not yours. You think so? Oi said cautiously. She kept her eyes lowered in case they looked red. Frankie might call her a Chinese crybaby or something even meaner. Of course, Liliandra has been getting other kids into trouble ever since kindergarten. But it was my dress from home that started the problem. Only a Chinese person would think like that. Frankie gave her a little punch on the arm. Oi giggled in spite of herself. Nah, I'm starting to think you're Korean instead. Or Japanese. Oi surprised herself with her own joke. Hey, yeah, that's it. Frankie waved as he walked up the steps of the market. He ascended quickly and didn't invite her to follow him. Oi remembered the way that Liliandra had promised to tell her a secret about Frankie. She wondered now what that secret could be. Chapter 10. When Oi got home, she looked through the kitchen window to see Mare in the backyard, shaking out the family eating mat. Luck played on the rusty swing set. She watched the two of them, going on with the day as though nothing were wrong. Oi fingered the note in her pocket, ruffling the edges. She thought of Peshki's advice. Oi could translate the note however she wanted. PTA meeting next Tuesday at 6:30, or field trip to the zoo coming up. She didn't have to show the note to Kung Mare at all. Mare would never know that Mrs. Cervantes had written it, and no one would tell Kung Pa because he was too busy working to ever go to Oi's school. It would be easy to write a response that looked like Kung Pa's small, neat American writing. We are very sorry for our daughter's bad actions. Faking his signature would be easy too. Kung Mare hung the mat over the back of a chair, then turned to push Luck in the swing. But Oi already felt shame burning inside her, like the nam prick sauce made of the tiny, fiery chilies Kung Mare grew in the backyard. She couldn't imagine adding more to her shame by lying to her parents. Oi went into her room. Although everything had changed in just one day, the room still looked the same. Her small desk in the corner, the sleeping mat rolled against the wall, a travel poster of Thai fruits pinned up by the window. She stuffed the dress far back in her closet, underneath a quilt stored for the cold season. Welcome home, little daughter, Kung Mare called when Oi entered the backyard. Swasti, Kung Mare. Oi greeted her formally, pressing her hands together. Mare stopped pushing Luck and glanced at Oi. Is everything all right? No, I have bad news. Mare left the swing and walked across the dry grass to Oi. Luck protested, crying for more pushes. What is it, Oi? Oi took the note from her pocket and opened it up. The words stood out so boldly and clearly in the bright sunshine. To Oi, they shouted their meanings in all languages. What does it say, little daughter? Mare stood close and peered at the paper. It says that I caused trouble on the playground. Mare looked confused. She made a little movement with her hand, as though to take the note, then drew it back. How? She finally asked. Oi sat down on a faded lawn chair. The clear sunshine would expose the truth. Mare, forgive me. Kung Mare sat down in a chair next to her. She didn't seem to hear Luck's protests at losing her attention. Remember, I said that the girls saw the picture of me in the Thai dress? Mare nodded, her eyes never leaving Oi's face. A girl wanted to try on the dress. She said she wouldn't be my friend if I didn't bring it to school. Mare screwed up her face as though she were trying to understand. I brought the dress without your permission. Oi took a deep breath and rushed ahead with the story. All the girls wanted to try it on. They were so excited they took their clothes off waiting for their turns. A little smile played around the edges of Mare's lips. The woman who watched at the playground caught us. The principal said this disgraceful behavior was my fault. Oh, little daughter. Mare looked down into her hands. Oi glanced at Luck, swinging innocently. Even she would be affected. When she went to school, people might remember that she was the sister of Olivia Chasing, who had provoked Lily Andra's clubhouse girls to inappropriate behavior. Mrs. Bonsub would find out about this disgrace. She would fire Kung Pa for having such a daughter. With no job for Kung Pa, the whole reason for coming to America would be lost. That girl doesn't sound like a good friend, Mare said at last. Oi thought of the way Lily Andra teased and demanded. No, she isn't nice. She's taken all the girls for her friends. I just want to fit in with them. Oh, Mare. She began to cry, putting her face into her hands. You don't know how bad it feels to be left out. Birds sang in the palm tree overhead. How could their songs be so joyful? Oi, Mare said softly, touching Oi's hair, smoothing it around her ears. I also know how it feels to be different. Oi suddenly saw Mare in the grocery store, examining the bottles for pictures on the labels, looking for the fermented fish sauce that she would never find. She would stare at unfamiliar vegetables like avocado or artichoke, and then turn away from them with a shake of her head. At the checkout stand, she would move her hand back and forth in a gesture for no. She didn't understand when someone tried to speak to her in English. Oh, Mare. Like Oi, Kung Mare didn't belong to this country. Now, not only was she different from everyone else, but she'd become the mother of a child who had shamed their family name. Mare leaned forward in the lawn chair. To be alone is hard, Oi, but no friend is better than a cruel one. That was true. Oi didn't want to please Lily Andra anymore, but she did want a friend. She thought of the trading card of the dolphin pushed to the back of her cubby. Someone had been kind to her. Neither Marissa nor Kelly Marie had any trading cards. Besides, they never came into her classroom. But Frankie always carried cards in his pocket. His cubby was close to Oi's. Could he have put the card in there? She sat with Kung Mare as the sun moved behind the palm, casting big, feathery shadows over the backyard. After a while, Look got down off the swing. She came over and curled up in Mare's lap. One more thing, Mare, Oi began quietly. The dress got ruined. Were those American girls too big for it? Mare asked. Again, Oi noticed a hint of a smile. They were big and in a hurry. And greedy. Oi had a smile too. Bring it to me. When Oi went inside, at first she couldn't see in the dim light. She felt underneath the winter quilt until she found the silk with its scratchy threads. Mare held the dress up in the sunshine. It was torn on one seam and smudged with playground dirt. Even so, the threads still shone. Mare gently urged Luck off her lap. Go get the sewing kit from the dresser, Oi. When Oi came back with the carved wooden box, Mare threaded a needle with pink thread. Like this, daughter. She pushed the needle through the fabric, taking tiny stitches. Then she handed the needle to Oi. While Mare weeded her patch of chiles and lemongrass, with Luck helping her, Oi sewed her tie dancing dress. When the seam was mended, Mare filled a tub with cool water. She showed Oi how to wash the dress very gently. Remember, little daughter, Mare said as they stretched the fabric and hung it in the bathroom to dry. The children are interested in this dress not because it makes them look the same, but because it makes them look different. That evening, Kung Pa wrote a note. Dear Mrs. Cervantes, thank you for your letter. I appreciate your concern. My daughter needs a friend. He signed in Bhutan Chasing, in fancy Thai letters. Chapter 11. The next day at school, everyone was quiet. Liliandra's mother had sent a note saying she was sick with fever. The girls drifted to play in small groups. From the top of the climber, Oi and Marissa looked down at the former clubhouse. That place wasn't that much fun after all, said Marissa, dangling her long braids over the bar. Not the way she promised, Oi added. No, and we waited so long to get invited. Sorry about your dress. It wasn't your fault. Anyhow, my mom and I fixed it. Liliandra didn't even look good in it. Marissa looked straight at Oi. Not like a princess like you. Oi held onto the climbing bar with both hands. Maybe you could come to my house someday and try it on. Oh, cool. Marissa gave a little jump. After school, as she was walking home, Oi again noticed Frankie following her. What did your parents say? He asked when he caught up with her. Oi shielded her eyes from the light to better see his face. Was he teasing her again? They were okay about it. Frankie stopped in front of Jerry Lee Hoe Market. Oi wondered where Frankie got money to buy trading cards every day. Want to meet someone? Frankie asked. Where? Oi glanced around, but they were alone. In the market. Don't you know that this place belongs to my family? Oi looked with new interest at the tall white walls of the market, where sometimes Kung Pa bought fresh vegetables or cooking oil. Come inside. Frankie walked up the steps without turning around, as though he knew she'd follow. Oi looked with new interest at the tall white walls of the market, where sometimes Kung Pa bought fresh vegetables or cooking oil. Come inside. Frankie walked up the steps without turning around, as though he knew she would follow. Inside, the store was lined with shelves of cans and bottles. At the back, Oi saw a very old man, his face like a wrinkled moon. When she drew closer, she saw that the man's eyes were narrow, the thinnest of slits in his dry face. This is Ye Ye. Frankie's voice was quiet, yet it echoed in the high ceilings. He's my grandfather. Ye Ye, this is Olivia, a friend of mine from school. Ye Ye nodded ever so slightly, then walked slowly into the back room. Oi stared at Frankie. But he's Chinese. Frankie nodded. Oi felt a laugh rise like a bubble in the back of her throat. Then so are you. Not so fast. Frankie held his thumb and his forefinger apart about an inch. Just a little bit, a quarter to be exact. You're the one who's Chinese, yet you teased me. I'm sorry, Olivia. When I was in kindergarten, Ye Ye used to walk me to school. The kids teased me about being Chinese. When they saw me coming, they pulled their eyes out like this. Frankie jerked the edges of his eyelids with his fingertips. They sang a stupid little song. Ching Chong, here comes the Chinaman. He brushed his hair off his forehead. I'm sorry. Oh, Oi said, letting her backpack slip off her shoulder. She could almost hear the children singing those awful words. Frankie suddenly bent down behind the counter. When he stood up, he held out a shiny packet. For you, to make up for being so mean. The trading cards felt slippery and magical in her hand. So it was you. She pulled the gold dolphin card from her pocket. Frankie blushed. Yeah, Olivia, that was me. I knew Liliandra was giving you a hard time. But you did too. I just wanted to be friendly, especially when I saw your picture. The way you were all dressed in jewels and gold, you looked like you came from somewhere exciting. Yeah, Thailand. Thailand, Frankie repeated. Oi shuffled the gold dolphin in with the other cards. She looked back up at Frankie. Thank you for these. It wasn't nothing, Olivia. Frankie took a step toward her. I can get you more. Frankie, just one thing. My name isn't really Olivia. It's Oi. Sounds Japanese. Oh, you Chino. Oi punched Frankie lightly on the shoulder. Hey there, said Frankie, but he was smiling. The end. So now that we've finished the gold threaded dress, I want you to take a minute and think about the author's purpose for writing this story. Why do you think Carolyn Marsden wrote the story? Take a minute, think about it, and write your answer in the Google form, and then we'll come back and talk about it together as a class.